Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karuna Ghana Ghanatam Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Gunana Vasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Praptasya Kalyana Gunana Vasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam
Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam
Vande Gurashi Charanara Mahaprabhu ki Tananita Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu ki Gita
Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena
Romanchakam Pastru Taranga Vajo Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Shri Vigrara Dana Nityanana Shingaratanama Niramajanado Ata Nana Juktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatapi Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Juktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatapi Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasada Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangam Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasada Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Kridvaiva Tripti Bhajata Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Bhajata Shadeva Vande Gurashi Shiradikama Dhabayarapara Madhura Lila Gunarupa Namna Shiradikama Para Madhura Lila Pratikshana Dhanalalupasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Pratikshana Dhanalalupasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Ne kunja yono ratikeli siddhai Jajali bhir juktit apekshaniya Nikunja yono Jajali bhir juktit Tatrati daksha ativalabhasya Vande Gurashi charanara vrindam Tatrati daksha ativalabhasya Sakcha dharitena samasta shastri Uktas tatha bhataiva sadabhi Shashri Pintu pravarja priyaiva tasya Vande Gurashi charanara vrindam Kintu prabhoja priya eva tasya Vande Gurashi charanara vrindam Yasya prasada Bhagavat prasada Yasya prasadan Nagati kutapi Yasya prasada Bhagavat prasada Yasya prasada Dayam stubam tasya Yasatri sandhyam Vande Gurashi charanara vrindam Vande Gurashi charanara Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Mine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sharnavadi Pachatarisha Tarine Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunavadi Pachata Dishata Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Chaitanya Nityananda Go Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Namah Krishna, Jadavaya Namah, Jadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namah, Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghuna, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghuna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhav, Radha Nila Madhav Radhe, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra, Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Lakshman Hanuman, Nittai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nittai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nittai Gaura Pramanandi, Haribo. Jai Vishnupada Paramita Prabhajakacharya Sutra Sarasishyamat, His Divine Grace of Bhoja Ravindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Pratishta Viviti Samstha Chara Vaishnava Sramani Gaura Priyajana, Krishna Prima Bhakti Datta Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Gaurya Guru Varga Patita Udhari ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sat Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ji ki jai. Jainanta Kuti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrindi ki jai. Jai Param Dayal Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Jai Pramanama Sankirtane Ka Janaka Prima Purushottama Shri Sachinandan Shriman Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaura Hari Mahavrana Avatar ki jai. Golokera Pramadhana Harinam Sankirtan Jaga ki jai. Yoga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Brihat Midanga Transcendental Bhuk Distribution Seva ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopina Radha Kund Samakund Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Shri Brajabhum Vrindavan Mathurudam ki jai. The Lordship Shri Radha Nilamadhava ki jai. Shri Maya Purnapadip Ekachakradam ki jai. Paramakaruna Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai. Shri Purushottama Kitra Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Srimati Subhadra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan ki jai. Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kanu Shingare Bhagavan ki jai. Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya ki jai. Tulasi Maharani वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय, श्री मथुरा धारानी की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर हरि प्रमानंदे. All glory to the assembly bodies, all glory to the assembly bodies, all glory to the assembly bodies, all glory to Shri Guru Shri Guru.
Hari Bol. Yeah. Yes, okay, Maharaj. Oh. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlad Ladadaine.
Prahlad
Hiranyakashi Purvasaha.
Hiranyakashi Purvasaha.
Silatankanakalai.
Silatankanakalai.
Ito Narsingha Parato Narsingha.
Ito Narsingha Parato Narsingha.
Yato yato yami tato Narsingha.
Yato yato yami tato Narsingha.
Bhai Narsingha Hirdaye Narsingha. Narsinghamudim Sharanam Prapade. Tava Kara Kamal Vare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa. Keshavadhirta Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Tava Karakam
Tava Karakam Vare
Nakam Adbhuta Shringam. Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa. Keshavadhirta Narahari Rupa. Jaya Jagadish. Jaya Narsingha De. Jaya Narsingha De. Jaya Narsingha De. Jaya Narsingha De. Jaya Bhakta Prahlad. Jaya Bhakta Prahlad. Jaya Bhakta Prahlad. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj.
Jaya Bhakta Prahlad. Bhakta Prahlad. Bhakta Prahlad. Jaya Prahlad.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. 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 Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev. 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 Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Gurudev. Gurudev.
बोल नरसिंह भगवान की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, प्रभुपाद महाराज की जय, गुरुदेव महाराज की जय।
श्री वृंदाई तुलसी विष्णु भक्ति प्यारे देवी सत्य भक्ताय वृंदाई तुलसी प्रिय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्यारे देवी सत्य भक्ताय वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्यारी देवी सत्य भक्ताय जय श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी Namo Namaః Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaః Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Tulasi Radha Krishna Seva Pava Eya Vilasi Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eya Vilasi Jeta Mara Sharanala Tara Bancha Purna Kripa Kore Karatare Vrindavana Vasi Tumi Tumi Kripa Kore Karatare Vrindavana Vasi Moraiya Vila Vilas Kunje Diyoba Morai Nayane Rebho Sada Jugala Ruparasiyami. Dina Krishna Das Dini Vedana Dara Sakira Nogata Kara Sevayari Kara Diye Kara Nijadasi Dina Krishna Das Koi Eye Namora Shri Radha Govinda Preme Saraye Navasi Shri Radha Govinda Preme Saraye Navasi Jani kani sa papani brahma tari kani sa tani tani prana santi pradakshina pade pade Jani kani sa papani brahma tari kani sa tani tani prana santi pradakshina pade pade Yani kanisa papane brahmatari kanisa tani tani prana santi pradakshina pade pade Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrindadevi Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrindadevi Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrindadevi Tulsi Maharani Jaya Bhakti Devi Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Nitai Gora. Jai Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Vai Priya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Vai Priya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindaye Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavataye Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Very full and lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always fame love Shri Radha and Govinda. Shri Mati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Bhakti Devi Jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam ki Jai. Chaito Darpanamarjanam Bhava Mahadavanirvapanam Shreyakariva Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Badhu Jivanam Anandam Vadivardhanam Padipadam Purnamita Sadhanam Sarvatmasana Paravijayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Baudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Etadrushi Tava Kripaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdhaivam Idrishamya Janina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichaina Tarorapi Saishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadari Na dhanam na janam na sundarim Kavitam vaja gadishakamaye Mama janmani janmanishari Bhavatar bhakti rahaitu kitwai Ainandatanuja kinkaram Paritamam vishame bhavam budau Kripaya tava pada pankaja Sthita dhuli sadrisham vichintaya Nayanam galorashru dharaya Vadanam Gadagadharudhaya Gira Ulake Nichitam Papukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavisati Juga Itam Nimishena Chakyusha Prabhusa Itam Shunya Itam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahe Name Aslishva Padaratam Pinashtumam Adarshanan Marmahatam Karotuva Jata tathava vidadhatulam pato mat prana tastu saivana para. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Kyastakam Ki Jai. Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namo Gurti Nama. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life with repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once we chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your casual devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaja Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I am falling in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu se Kyastakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1, to blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2, to consider names of demigods, the Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4, to blaspheme the Vedic literatures or literatures and pursuits of Vedic version. 5, to consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna by imagination. 6, to give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7, to commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8, to consider chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activity karma kanda. 9, to instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10, to not have complete faith in chanting the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees, they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha paritanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavendra ki jai. Shri Mangala Aarti Guru Pranam ki jai. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Dharana Sakaya Chaturmaitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guru Jai Chaitanya Manudistam Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jyotapadakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagratam Sarvanarunatavindam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padanam Sadhana Kalita Shri Vishakamitam Cha Nama Om Krishna Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinami Namaste Saraswati Devyam Gauravani Pracharina Nirvishesha Swanavadi Vachitra Visatarini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinami Shiva Shravanam Devi Ekati Padai Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Kaidi Prabhave Namaha Madhu Jujala Premadhya Shri Rupanoga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gaurani Shri Muktai Vinadari Rupam Kavirudha Pustanta Dhantarayane Namo Vishwaraya Satyavedaya Muktai Vipralambhara Sambodhe Prabhujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchit Anandanamini Krishna Krishna Rupaya Rupananda Varayate Gaura Virubhava Vishwam Vishashanandiyam Vaishnava Sarvam Bhutvansi Gaganandayate Namaha Panchakalpatarvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavarandaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gora Krishna Namaha Ajatatvamam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Sotatam Bhakta Uttaram Bhaktasyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu
Andu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Pangur Mamamanda Matergati Matsarva Swapadambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadramadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Shiman Rasa Sarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venuswaner Gopir Gopinath Akstriyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Shintamani Prakarsat Masukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vrite Susurabhira Vipaliyantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govinda Amadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Kvananda Aravinda Dalayataksam Bharhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandarpa Gotikamaniya Vishesha Sobham Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shaman Chivanga Lalita Niyata Prakasam Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakilendriya Vrittimanti Yasyanti Bhanti Parayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigyahasya Govinda Amadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sudurlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govinda Amadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastakoti Satavatsada Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Munipungamanam Sopyastiyat Prapadasim Yavichantia Tatve Govinda Amadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitam Jagadanda Kotim Yas Chaktirasti Jagadanda Chayayadanta Andantarasta Panamanu Chayantarastam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Dio Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Busaha Suktarya Meva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Pratibhavita Bistabirya Evan Nijirupa Tayakalabi Koloka Evan Nivasata Kilatma Bhutto Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hidesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Amenatista Nana Avatar Makarod Bhuvanesu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumamyo Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagananda Koti Kotis Vasesha Vasudadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Trigun Yatad Visaya Veda Vidayamanam Sadvavulambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasuya Praninam Patifalam Smaratam Upetya Lilayatena Bhuvanani Jaya Yajasram Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Golokanamni Nijadamni Tarechatasya Devi Mahesa Adidama Sute 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 Te Prabhava Nichaya Vitasayena Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Srististate Palaya Sada Vasaktireka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vivarti Durga Ichanu Rupam Abhyasya Chichesta Tesa Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Siram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesi Yoga Sanjaya Te Naitata Pritakaste Etu Yasam Bhutama Pitatasam Apaitikaya Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Departure Evi Santaram Abhyapetya Dipaya Tevi Vita Hetu Samanu Dharma Yastadrik Evi Hicha Vishnu Tayavibhati Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Akarna Narna Vajale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidram Ananta Jagadanda Saroma Kupa Adhara Saktima Volambya Param Swamurtim Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nishvasita Kala Mata Volambya Jivanti Loma Villaja Jagananda Nata Vishnur Mahansa Yasya Kalabhya Seso Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Basmanya Tasma Sakalesu and Jesu Teja Sriyamki Yat Prakatayat Apitad Vedatra Brahmaya Esa Jagananda Vidana Karta Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Pala Vikam Pindaya Kumbha Dwande Pranama Samayesa Ganadi Raja Vignam Yantam Alamasi Jagatrayasa Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamambu Marudi Sascha Kala Statatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Yamcha Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yas Chaksuresa Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Asesha Teja Vesya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sutayastapam Se Brahmadi Kita Patagava Dehasta Jiva Yadata Matritava Prakatapa Baba Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastrindra Gopa Matavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhana Rupa Falapajana Matanoti Karmani Nidhati Kinchija Bhakti Bhajan Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Kroda Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Biti Vatsalya Moha Guru Goro Vasevya Bhava Sanchintya Tasya Sadvisintam Maparete Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Juma Bunis Chintamani Ganama Yitoyam Amritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriyasa Kichidanandam Jyoti Param Apital Aswadim Apichasa Yatashiradibihi Shaviti Surabhi Vyasta Sumaha Nimesa Dakyavava Jitina Hiyatrabi Samaya Bajay Svitad Vidham Tamaham Irgol Kamitiam Vidantas Te Santakshiti Viracha Rakati Paya Ishwara Paramakrishna Sachitananda Vigraha Nadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Sri Guru Vastika prayers Gijay. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as the cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. Offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of such spiritual master, who is an ocean of auspicious qualities, chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments. The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion with his mind. Sometimes times his hair stands on end. He feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. Spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shishi, Radha, and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Street of such a spiritual master. Spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. Spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. I offer my most humble obeisance unto the Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential steward to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Street as such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hari Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master. At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Street of my spiritual master, his divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, verse number 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yadharma Sunor Bhattaraja Sunye Nirikshya Drikswas Yayanam Triloka Karsne Yena Chad Yeha Gatam Vidatur Arvakshita Koshalam Ityamanyata. Yet, the form which Dharma Suno of Maharaj Yudhisthira, Bhata, certainly, Rajasuye, in the arena of the Rajasuya sacrifice, Nirikshya, by observing, Drik, sight, Swasyayanam, pleasing, Triloka, the 3 worlds, Karsneyena, and sum total, Cha, thus, Adya, today, Iha, within the universe, Gatam, surpassed, Vidatu, of the Creator, Brahma, Arvak, recent mankind, Shrito, in the material world, Koshalam, dexterity, Iti, thus, Amanyata, contemplated. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All the demigods from the upper, lower, and middle universal planetary systems assembled at the altar of the Rajasuya sacrifice performed by Maharaja Yudhisthira. After seeing the beautiful bodily features of Lord Krishna, they all contemplated that he was the ultimate dexterous creation of Brahma, the creator of human beings. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There was nothing comparable to the bodily features of Lord Krishna when he was present in this world. The most beautiful object in the material world may be compared to the blue lotus flower or the full moon in the sky. But even the lotus flower and the moon were defeated by the beauty of the bodily features of Lord Krishna. And this was certified by the demigods, the most beautiful living creatures in the universe, meaning the material universe. The demigods thought that Lord Krishna, like themselves, was also created by Lord Brahma. But in fact, Brahma was created by Lord Krishna. It was not within the power of Brahma to create the transcendental beauty of the Supreme Lord. No one is the creator of Krishna. Rather, he is the creator of everyone. As he says in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All the demigods from the upper, lower, and middle universal planetary systems assembled at the altar of the Rajasuya sacrifice, performed by Maharaja Yudhishthira. After seeing the beautiful bodily features of Lord Krishna, they all contemplated that he was the ultimate dexterous creation of Brahma, the creator of human beings. Gaura Premanandi Haribol Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So now we see how it's very possible that even elevated souls like the demigods can be an illusion and have wrong conclusions about things in the universe, such as thinking that Brahma is the creator of Lord Krishna. So if the demigods are confused, what about us? We're much less qualified than the demigods. Therefore, yatamat tatapat, that is, anything people think, they think that it's true, but it's not. So there are an infinite number of misconceptions by people in the material world. There's also misconceptions even by initiated devotees, because they don't hear carefully and systematically the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. They think they know everything, but actually they can still be full of misconceptions of life. So, therefore, we can learn by reading and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita that it's very easy to have a misconception about life. This is also explained in Bhagavad Gita, where it says in the 7th chapter, Avyaktim vyaktim apanam manyate mam abudaya param bhavam ajananto mamaiviyam anuttamam. 7th chapter, 24th verse, which says, unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So this means that all the Mayavadis are nonsense people. They have completely wrong conclusions about Krishna. Therefore, they will never, even if they achieve Brahman realization, they will fall down. Then they will never have perfect knowledge of Krishna unless they come in contact with a genuine pure devotee or pure devotees of the Lord and hear the absolute truth. And how do they know the truth? They're simply repeating what Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita and what the great devotees like Sukadeva Goswami and Sutta Goswami and Sonaka Rishi have said in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, we don't have to invent anything. We simply have to learn by careful and reverent, focused hearing of genuine devotees reading and speaking the original words of Krishna and the acharyas. Very few people, although people can hear this, to understand it means that one does it. And if one doesn't do it, then they haven't understood anything. So here it says, and this is in the 7th chapter, 24th verse of Bhagavad Gita, those who are worshippers of demigods have been described as less intelligent persons. And here, the impersonalists are similarly described. Impersonalists who study the Vedas, impersonalists who can quote the Vedas, but they're also nonsense. And it says, Lord Krishna in his personal form is here speaking before Arjuna. And still, due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. Yamunacharya, a great devotee of the Lord in the disciplic succession of Ramanujacharya, meaning the Sri Vaishnavas, has written a very appropriate verse in this connection. He says, Tam Shila Rupa Charita Paramam Prakristahai, and so forth. My dear Lord, devotees like Vyasadeva and Narada know you to be the personality of Godhead. By understanding different Vedic literatures, one can come to know your characteristics. your form, and your activities. And one can thus understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, the demons, the non-devotees, cannot understand you. They are unable to understand you. However expert such non-devotees may be in discussing Vedanta and the Upanishads and other Vedic literatures, it's not possible for them to understand the personality of Godhead. This is in Yamunacharya's Shrota Ratna, verse number 12. Prabhupada continues, in the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the personality of Godhead cannot be understood simply by study of the Vedanta literature. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord can the personality of the Supreme be known. Therefore, in this verse, it is clearly stated that not only are the worshippers of the demigods less intelligent, but those non-devotees who are engaged in Vedanta and speculation on Vedic literature without any tinge of true Krishna consciousness are also less intelligent. And for them, it is not possible to understand God's personal nature. Persons who are under the impression that the absolute truth is impersonal are described as abudaya, which means those who do not know the ultimate feature of the absolute truth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that supreme realization begins from the impersonal Brahman and then rises to the localized supersoul. But the ultimate word in the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead. Modern impersonalists are still less intelligent, for they do not even follow their great predecessor, Sankaracharya, who has specifically stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonalists, therefore, not knowing the supreme truth, think Krishna to be only the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, or a prince, or a powerful living entity. This is also condemned in the Bhagavad Gita at 9:11. Abhijanti mam mudha manasim tanam asrita param bhavam ajananto mamabhuta maheshwara. So 9:11, let's see what that says. It says, it has a very long purport also. Usually people like lick their finger to turn the pages, but I don't do that. That's very muchi, because Bhagavad Gita is non-different than Krishna. Mama Bhuta Maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in a human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So, these fools, these Mayavadis, and then there's the some of the demigods, and also the demons, and asuras, and the atheists. What do? They deride Krishna when he descends in a human form. They do not know Krishna's transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So don't be fooled when it says descends in a human form. It only looks like a human form, but it's not a human form. Krishna's body is Sat Chitananda Vigraha. It's the form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. It's not the form of stool, urine, pus, earwax, and bones, and ligaments, and tendons, and arteries, and capillaries, etc. He doesn't have a body like that. His body is Satchitananda Vigraha, but he has a body. And we also have a spiritual body like Krishna, but we have forgotten this, or we ignore it, or we don't believe it due to bad association in modern educational system. So, therefore, most people are in illusion. And then Prabhupada continues, he says, the fact is that no one, again 724, that no one can understand Krishna without rendering devotional service and without developing Krishna consciousness. So there it is. The proof that someone is on the path of progressive Krishna consciousness is they always are seeking service, and they're not afraid to increase their service. Of course, you can't increase artificially. Once you have a service and you perform it regularly, and because of that, and because of hearing regularly the scriptures also, you begin to downsize your sense gratification and downtime, nonsense phone calls and nonsense searches on the internet and nonsense this, nonsense that, and you start gaining time back for a devotional service, so then you can increase your service. We are wasting a huge amount of time every day. You might not think, so what do you mean I'm working hard all day? No, but there's many things that are detracting our mind and our senses from devotional service and Krishna consciousness. But as you begin to analyze those things and become convinced that I should eliminate these things that are taking my mind away from Krishna during my leisure time, right? You have to concentrate at work, but there's also leisure time while you're driving home or while you're driving to work or when you get home. So the ability to be engaged 24 hours a day in Krishna's service is very important if we want to make devotional, advancement spiritually. And just like 2 days ago, I asked Pradyumna to not only make dokla, but also take the food truck to Tacoma. He did it. He did it. That meant that a large amount of time, like from 7 o'clock to around 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the afternoon, he was busy doing things in devotional service, right? So it is a little inconvenient, but that inconvenience is called tapasya. Accepting some inconvenience to advance spiritually. Okay? So we should be willing to do that on a regular basis. And if we do it, then just like yesterday, I went to this post-wedding, let's say, party. And when they asked me to get up and speak, before that, I was given a little introduction by Arun Rangachari Prabhu. And when he spoke, most of the people were talking. It's typical. It's typical of Indians to do that. They don't have actual respect for a person when they speak, unless it's some big guy, like a politician or something like that. Then they keep quiet. But if it's just an ordinary person, they just keep on speaking and they just ignore the person. And when I spoke, again, they did the same thing. I didn't say anything about it, but this is symptomatic of people who don't have control of their mind and their senses, and really don't have the sense of respect. Why is that? Because they are spending most of their time with nonsense things. And they don't understand that, okay, here's an opportunity that I can hear about Atma Tattva, the eternality of the soul and the soul's relationship, the eternal relationship with Krishna. They ignore these things. And why do they ignore them? Because their mind has become contaminated with nonsense. And I'm going to go into that very deeply now, because unless we understand this, we will let it happen to us also. So there is the Lord's Prayer in English, right? I mean, there is the Lord's Prayer in Krishna consciousness also. So that is, my Lord, when shall I be freed from all material desires and be completely engaged in your transcendental loving service? At the present moment, I am forlorn, and nobody is my master. When shall I have you as my supreme master? Then shall I joyfully wander over the whole universe, knowing that you are my master. So, this is something we should say every day, and we should focus on it. It is a verbal translation of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And also Krishna supports this point. He says, Dharma Pochita Kaitravocha Paramam Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapo Trayan Mulanam Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vapurer Ishwarha Sadyo Hridi Avrudyate Cha Krite Bihi Susubis Takshanat. He says, completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana, meaning Srimad Bhagavatam, propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears this message of Bhagavatam, by the culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So, Krishna is already in our heart, but we're not aware of that. But when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, we become aware that Krishna is in our heart, and he is our best friend, and he is the closest person to us. That is a great discovery if we come to that point. Most people don't believe it. They say, well, the surgeon did heart put some stents in my heart, but he didn't see Krishna, so that means he's not there. Wait a minute, that's nonsense. There are many things that you look for and you don't see. That doesn't mean they don't exist. But Krishna says that he's in the heart of every living entity. And he says that in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Sarva Shichaham Hridi Sanivisto Matak Smriti Jnanam Apahanam Cha Vedaishcha Sarvam Veda Vedaishcha Sarvam Aham Veda Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Chaham. So he says, I am situated in the heart of everyone. Sarva Shichaham Hridi Sanivisto. And from me come knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So as Super Soul, he is the source of all knowledge that we may have. He is the source of our memory, and he also can make us forget things. So, therefore, it says next in the Srimad Bhagavatam 7.10.7, O my Lord, best of the givers of benediction, this is Prahlad Maharaj speaking, if you at all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, then I pray from your lordship that within the core of my heart there will be no material desires. So this is said in the Lord's Prayer, when shall I be freed from all material desires? This is said, Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second verse, where it says, completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure. Now in this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.10.7, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, please, Lord, free my heart of all material desires. So then it says, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us how to pray for benedictions from the Lord. He said, Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani jamanisware bhavatad bhakti rahaitu kitvaye. He said, O my Lord, I do not want from you any amount of wealth, nor many followers, nor a beautiful wife or a nice husband. For all these are materialistic desires. But if I have to ask you for any benediction, I pray that in whatever forms of life I may take my birth under any circumstances, I will not be bereft of your transcendental devotional service. So, this is the only desire of a devotee, and it's not a material desire. This is a spiritual desire. The desire is the devotee is always asking the Lord, please let me be engaged in your service. Please wipe out all the material desires in my heart, and please keep this one desire very fervent in my heart, that I should always be engaged in your service. And Prabhupada once said, the only question a devotee asks is, dear Gurudev, how can I serve you? Or is there any service that I can do? This is the only thing, the only question that one should ask from the spiritual master. How can I serve? So, devotees are always on the positive platform. This is Prabhupada speaking now. In contrast to the Mayavadis. Mayavadis are always negative. There's no material world, it's all an illusion. There's no spiritual world, there's no Vaikuntha, there's no Goloka, it's all an illusion. There's only Brahman. And there's no individual soul. That's another illusion. There's only one soul. And when you merge into that oneness, then you're also becoming God. This is all nonsense. There's no proof of any of that. It's completely diametrically different than what Krishna is saying. Look that word up, diametrically. D-I-A-M-E-T-R-I.
Exactly opposite.
Exactly opposite to what Krishna says. So how can we believe anything the Mayavadis say? And the modern Mayavadis, they're even worse than the previous Mayavadis because they also don't even accept what their guru says, Sankaracharya, that Narayana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's above all the imperfections in the material world. So they don't even follow Sankaracharya. They claim to, but they don't follow him. So this is the dilemma that we're in today. So it says, the devotees are always on a positive platform, in contrast to the Mayavadis, who want to make everything impersonal or void. So the Mayavadis are negative people. Of course, they smile, they tell nice jokes, they can quote Shastra, they're always studying Vedanta, but they don't understand anything about Vedanta because they're not explaining the conclusion of Vedanta. When Prabhupada went to Harvard and he gave a lecture there, he asked the students if they know what is the ultimate goal of life. And they said things, to make money, to have a lot of sense gratification. Even they said to know God. Maybe someone said that also, to know God. But no one said how to love God. So Lord Chaitanya is teaching how to love God. Knowing God doesn't mean you love him. See, it's just like you study for a test and you know a lot of different details. As soon as the test is over, you forget all those details, and 10 years later you go to some interview to get a job in Microsoft. The interviewer starts asking you questions about all those tests you took 10 years before, and you fail. You can't remember all that stuff because you forgot it right away. It was not really learned. It was just memorized to pass the test. So it doesn't mean having details in the mind doesn't mean you know something. It simply means that you have a bunch of details, a bunch of things that you may remember or memorize, but that doesn't mean you actually have knowledge. The actual knowledge is when you're engaged in devotional service. That means you have knowledge. So, Prabhupada continues, one cannot remain void or sunyavadi. Rather, one must possess something. Therefore, the devotee, on the positive side, wants to possess something. And this possession is very nicely described by Prahlad Maharaj, who says, if I must take some benediction from you, Lord Nrsingadev, I pray that within the core of my heart there will be no material desires. The desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not at all material. So, this is what we should teach our children. This is what we should teach ourselves. This is something that is crucial if you want to be a devotee. Then the next verse, 7th canto, 10th chapter, verse number 8 says, Indriyani manak prana atma dharmo dritir mati ri shrish tejasmriti satyam yasya nasyanti janmana. This is a very, very important verse. I've read it before, but we're going to go over it again. Repetition is very important in Krishna consciousness because our disease, and all of us, me included, we forget things easily. So repetition is necessary. And this verse says, "O my Lord, because of lusty desires from the very beginning of one's birth, the functions of one's senses, mind, life, body, religion, patience, intelligence, shyness, opulence, strength, memory, and truthfulness are vanquished." In other words, destroyed. By having lusty desires, all these crucial things are destroyed. And this is what is being taught in schools, how to have lusty desires. It's prevalent all over the material world, not only on this planet, on other planets also, and on even the Devalokas. These lusty desires for sense gratification are ruining people's lives, and all the good qualities are being contaminated, poisoned by these lusty desires. In the news, every day, it's all about people who have lusty desires and have acted on them and created crimes, right? And it's going on every day. People have no control of themselves anymore, and any qualities they have are contaminated. So, therefore, it continues. It says, Prabhupada's purport, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, kamam hrid rogam. Hrid means the heart, right? Rogam means sickness. And kamam means sense gratification or lusty desires. So it says, materialistic life means that one is afflicted by a formidable disease called lusty desire. So that's what this kamam hrid rogam means, being contaminated by lusty desires. Liberation means freedom from lusty desires. That's real freedom. It's not that you sprout some wings and you fly up to the Devalokas. That's not liberation. Liberation, real liberation, is being freed from lusty desires and replace those desires with the desire to always serve the Lord with love and devotion. So it says, as long as one's lusty desires are unfulfilled, one must take birth after birth to fulfill them. Because of material desires, therefore, one performs various types of activities and receives various types of bodies with which to try to fulfill desires that are never satisfied. Okay, this is a point. We will never be satisfied by sense gratification. We should understand that. No amount of sense gratification will satisfy us. We will always be yearning for more. It's like an itch. Scratching an itch will not stop the itch. It'll just aggravate it, and it'll become worse. So you scratch it like this, and then you say, oh, that feels good. And then all of a sudden, it comes back again stronger than before. See? And then sometimes people end up, their body starts bleeding because they're scratching all the time. They can't stop. See? The only way you can stop an itch is to tolerate it, and it will go away, but not by scratching it. So, where do you learn these things? You don't learn these things watching television or going on the internet, but you will learn these things by coming to class. You don't stop an itch by scratching it. You stop it by tolerating it. And you don't have a relationship with someone that's compatible if you get angry. But by tolerating things, the relationship will remain intact. So all these things are necessary to learn and have the self-control and mental acuity, that's a nice word, acuity, Acquity. What was the other word? Oh yeah, it was completely opposite. Yeah.
Diametrically opposite.
Yeah. Diametrically opposed. Yeah. Okay, so it says,
Acuity is sharpness or keenness of thought.
yes, sharpness or acuity, sharpness or sharpness or expertise of thought, right? So, Prabhupada continues that material desires will never be satisfied. In other words, you're doing something that's impossible. You're engaging in more and more sense gratification to get satisfied, but actually it doesn't satisfy you. It makes you more and more dissatisfied because you can never fulfill desires. Because trying to fulfill desires by sense gratification you will never reach satisfaction. The only remedy is to take the devotional service, which begins when one is free from all material desires. Anya bilasita sunyam ganakarmadi anavritam. So this is a verse by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion. It says, Anya abilasita means material desire, and sunyam means canceling, means free from. The spirit soul has spiritual activities and spiritual desires, as described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti rahaituki tvai. So, unalloyed devotion to the service of the Lord is the only spiritual desire. To fulfill this spiritual desire, however, one must be free from all material desires. Desirelessness means freedom from material desires. This is described by Srila Rupa Goswami as Anya Bilasita Sunyam. As soon as one has material desires, one loses his spiritual identity. Then all the paraphernalia of one's life, including one's senses, body, religion, patience, intelligence, are deviated from one's original Krishna consciousness. As soon as one has material desires, one cannot properly use his senses, intelligence, mind, and so on for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mayavadi philosophers want to become impersonal, senseless, and mindless, but that is not possible. So, the other day, the homework for Friday night was, tell me what you want to be when you grow up. And 3 people answered, and they all had material desires. They didn't say, I want to be a genuine devotee of Krishna and engage in devotional service. They said, I want to do AI, I want to do IT, I want to this, I want to that. So this proves that we are failing to educate our own kids. Why are we failing? Because we're like them. We have the same desires. So that's why the Lord's Prayer in ISKCON is, my Lord, when shall I be freed from all material desires and be completely engaged in your transcendental loving service? At the present moment, I am forlorn, meaning I'm hopeless, and nobody's my master. When shall I have you as my spiritual master? Then shall I joyfully wander over the whole universe, knowing that you are my master. So in other words, one becomes free of all illusions when one accepts Krishna as our supreme master and his instructions as our culture, as what we and how we do things based on the instructions that Krishna has given in Bhagavad Gita. So, Prabhupada continues, he says, so the living entity must be living, always existing with desires, ambitions, and so on. These should be purified, however, so that one can desire spiritually and be spiritually ambitious, without material contamination. In every living entity, these propensities exist because he is a living entity. When materially contaminated, however, one is put into the hands of material misery. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. That means you become because we're materially contaminated, we have to experience birth, which is painful, old age, which is painful, disease, which is painful, and death, which is painful. And then it starts all over again because of these material desires that are carried over from the previous life to the next life. This is what is causing all the problems of human beings in the world, these lusty desires. And they're being carried over, birth after birth. And the same nonsense continues in every birth. Therefore, if we have a chance to be Krishna conscious, we should grab it and hold on to it and become progressive in becoming more and more Krishna conscious in this lifetime. So Prabhupada says, Sarvapadi vinir muktam tatparat vena nirmalam hishikena hishikesha sevanam bhaktir uttama or bhaktir uchate. It says, bhakti, or devotional service, means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from material designations, meaning I am this or that, I am American, or I'm Indian, or I am white, or I'm black, or I'm rich, or I'm poor. All those are designations, false designations of who I am. That's one. And the second thing that one is free from when we engage in devotional service is simply by being employed in the service of the Lord, one's senses are purified. So we don't have to artificially attain control of the senses by doing this yoga or this meditation or that meditation. You simply engage in devotional service, two things happen automatically. One is that one is freed gradually of our material designations, and two, one's senses are purified by engaging in devotional service. So all desirable goals are achieved by simply engaging in devotional service. So then the next verse is very, very profound, and it says, 7th canto, 10th chapter, verse number 9. It says, O my Lord, when a human being is able to give up all the material desires in his mind, he becomes eligible to possess wealth and opulence like yours. Whoa! You want to be rich? You want to be opulent? Then get rid of all these material desires and replace them with the desire to always be engaged in Krishna's service. And you will experience real opulence, not this junk, fake opulence, like the Bitcoin. People buy a Bitcoin and it starts going up, up, right? And then all of a sudden, the palace of cards collapses immediately. You're back less than when you bought it. So in other words, you're in debt. You lost everything, right? See, the Bitcoin is a perfect example of illusion. It's going up, 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 up. You say, well, now I'm rich. Look how much my Bitcoin is worth. I bought it when it was. I bought it for $100. Now it's $1,000, right? The whole thing is an illusion, right? And then right away, it crashes like a palace made of cards. Like if you get a deck of cards, you can put them like this and like that and make a whole palace out of it, right? And then just touch it once, the whole thing collapses. That's a Bitcoin. You see, it is definitely a weapon of mass illusion, right? But yet, people will buy it or start buying it again, don't they? Because the publicity comes up. Wow, he said, this is how you get in on the bottom, and it'll go up to the top. And they say whenever the stock market goes down, they say, "Whoa, this is the time to buy stocks." Right after you just lost all your stock portfolio, they say, "This now you have to buy," because now they're really cheap. So then it starts again. It goes up, 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 like this for like 5 years. You know, you think, I have $10 million in my portfolio. And all of a sudden, the whole thing collapses again. So it's not only the Bitcoin; it's the stock market also. It's a job also, like Exxon. Exxon was one of the biggest companies in the United States, right? And overnight it collapsed. And everybody lost their 401ks, everything, right? The whole thing collapsed. And it was probably the third biggest company in the entire United States, right? So you see, nothing is sure in the material world except birth, old age, disease, and death. Right. Everything else is not sure. Right. Your 401k is not sure. Your job is not sure. Your body is not sure. So many things. Your house is not sure also. Right. One day it's there. Next day it could be burned down, or there could be a gas explosion because there's a leak of gas in your house, or so many things can go wrong. Okay. So Prabhupada continues. He says, atheistic men sometimes criticize a devotee by saying, if you do not want any benediction from the Lord, and if the servant of the Lord is as opulent as the Lord himself, then why do you ask for the benediction of being engaged in as the Lord's servant? Because that's what the Lord's prayer is for Vaishnavas. Please let me be free of all material desires and let me always be engaged in your service, right? So you say you're still asking for something from the Lord. But you say that you have equal opulence as the Lord. Why you keep asking for something, right? See, the demons, they always want to put a doubt in your mind. So they come up with these types of questions. You say. But the answer is given by Sridhara Swami, who was in the Rudra Sampradaya. And he came before Lord Chaitanya, so it's over more than 500 years ago that he was living. And he comments, Bhagavat-tvaya Bhagavat Saman Aishwaryaya. Bhagavat-tva, becoming as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, does not mean becoming one with him or equal to him. Although in the spiritual world, the servant is equally as opulent as the master. That's a fact. The servant is equally as opulent as the master in the spiritual world. The servant of the Lord is engaged in the service of the Lord as a servant, friend, father, mother, or conjugal lover, all of whom are equally as opulent as the Lord. This is Achintya Bheda Tattva. The master and the servant are different, yet equal in opulence. This is the meaning of simultaneous difference from the Supreme Lord and oneness with him. So there are certain things that we're one with Krishna. Eternity. It's not that our eternity is less than Krishna's eternity. No, it's equal to Krishna's eternity. Right? And also opulence. If we are completely free of material desires and we're engaged always in the service of the Lord, we partake of the full opulence of the Lord. Right? He endows that to his devotee. So Druva Maharaj, he was thrown off the lap of his father by his stepmother and said, you were not born from my womb, so you can't sit on your father's lap. So Druva got really upset. And I've told this story before. It's in the Bhagavatam. You probably know it. So, but because he followed Narada Muni, who became like his guru, and gave him some very, very severe austerity, and Druva was only 5 years old, but he had the Kshatriya spirit, he did the austerity very, very seriously, and Lord Vishnu appeared before him and says, my dear Druva, and he touched him on the head with his conch shell. All of a sudden, Druva became enlightened just by the touch of the Lord. And he began speaking wonderful prayers, glorifying the Lord. And then the Lord endowed him with the kingdom much bigger than his father, and the ability to manage that kingdom for thousands and thousands of celestial years. So Druva attained unbelievable opulence. Same thing with Prahlad Maharaj. He's born in the son of Hiranyakashipu, a demon, but because he was tolerant and he was persistent to be Krishna conscious, Krishna rewarded him with his father's kingdom, which was the whole universe. Hiranyakashipu was running the whole universe at that time. He had defeated Indra and the Devatas. But now Prahlad Maharaj inherited that. And he continued to be the chief personality controlling the Devas. Controlling the Asuras, but he was a devotee. So this is it seems to be an anomaly, but no, it's not. And Druva Maharaja, Prahlad Maharaj got it, that the whole universe is his kingdom, you see. So you're not going to be a loser by becoming completely Krishna conscious. You can only be a winner, because when you're completely Krishna conscious, you're connected to Krishna in an indelible way. Look that one around. Indelible. Indelible. Indelible.
Making a mark that cannot be removed.
Yes. You cannot, that's it.
Permanent.
It's permanent, right? So Prahlad Maharaj, Druva Maharaj, these young little boys, they were only 5 years old when they became, well, Druva was educated already in the womb of his mother. He was born a devotee. And Druva, when he's 5 years old, he follows his guru's instructions and he attains this perfection. So that's when kids should be educated, from 5 years old on until they're at least 20 years old. They should be educated in Krishna consciousness. You know, just like yesterday, the 3 boys came out on Sankirtan. And Samarth and Arjun, yeah. And third one was Murli, yeah. And they were doing Sankirtan, they were distributing books, they were preaching. They got a taste for it. And then on our way back home, we started talking about Krishna consciousness and you know what their plans are in life. And I clearly explained to them, you might like this, you might not like it, that they should finish high school in 2 years. It's possible. And then for the next 4 years, they should be brahmacharis and trained, just like I became a brahmachari, and I was trained during 5 years in going out every day on Sankirtan, preaching, and hearing Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam every day, and learning how to cook, and learning how to do all these different things in Krishna consciousness, and then make a decision. If they want to get married, then they should have a profession by which they can make money, because you have to have money if you're going to have a family, right? Or they could remain brahmachari the rest of their life, like Narada Muni. And look what happened to Narada Muni. He didn't fail because he didn't go to school. By the way, he never went to school. Only because for 4 months he associated with pure devotees and did service for them. And because his mother was very poor and she was just a maidservant, but she was lucky enough to serve these 4 Bhaktivedantas, very elevated souls, during the Chaturmasya period in India. And her son came with him. He wasn't in school. And he associated with these 4 great devotees. They let him have the remnants of their prasadam, and he listened to their classes. He wasn't playing games. He was very serious about hearing. And when they left, he had already been convinced that the rest of his life he's going to be a devotee. He's only 5 years old. And then his mother dies by an accident. Like, she got bitten by a snake and he dies, and she died. And the rest of his life he just spent in Krishna consciousness And then it was the end of a day of Brahma, so everything was wound up and waiting for the next expansion of the universe. And when that next expansion happened, he became like a son of Brahma, and he's number 2 person in our sampradaya. There's Krishna teaches Brahma, Brahma teaches Narada, Narada teaches Vyasa. So, is he a failure? No. He's still alive right now, and he can go anywhere he wants in the material world or the spiritual world. And he doesn't need an airplane, he doesn't need a bird carrier or anything like that. He just goes by himself, flying through space at a tremendous speed, and he can reach any planet in the material universe and any spiritual planet. So he's not a failure. He's more successful than anybody you can even imagine. Elon Musk would love to be as expert as Narada Muni, right? So, and the way Narada Muni is pictured in Bollywood movies, he's like a fool, you know. Narayana, with a big sikas hanging out of his head, looks like something like a ponytail, and so it's like a farcical Narada. But Narada, real Narada, is not a farcical person. He's very serious and very happy, and he's always engaging in preaching to help people in different universes, not only this universe, other universes also, to be Krishna conscious. So, then Prabhupada finishes and he says, the servant of the Lord is engaged in the service of the Lord as a servant, friend, father, mother, or conjugal lover, all of whom are equally as opulent as the Lord. This is achintya bheda abheda tattva. The master and servant are different yet equal in opulence. This is the meaning of simultaneous difference from the Supreme Lord and oneness with him, not him being him, right? So then the next verse actually explains the 30 qualities that should be the education of all persons. And it says, the translation says, these are the general principles. So this is verses 7th canto, 11th chapter. Now we're going from the 10th chapter now to the 11th chapter, verses 8 to 12. Satyam, Dayam, Tapa, Socham, and so forth. There are 4 verses, and it says, these are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. 1, truthfulness. 2, mercy. 3, austerity, which means observing fasts on certain days of the month. That means like ekadasis and festival days and so forth. So that's the austerity of devotees. It's not sleeping on a bed of nails in a cold, dank, dark cave in the Himalayas. That's not austerity. Austerity is fasting on the fasting days, and there's about 30 of them. It's like the Hare Krishna Ramadan, right? But it's not all in one month. It's over a period of time of 1 year. We have at least 30, 31, sometimes 32 fast days, if you count all the festivals that you're supposed to fast and all the ekadasis. All the ekadasis already, there's more than 24, right? And then you count the big fast days. There's Janmashtami, there's Radhastami, there's Nishringa Chaturdasi, and there's Ramnami. So there's at least 4 major fast days. Okay, so therefore it says, next, bathing twice a day, tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, control of the mind, control of the senses, nonviolence, celibacy, charity, reading of scripture, simplicity, satisfaction, rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements, observing the futility of the unnecessary activities of human society, remaining silent and grave, and avoiding unnecessary talk, considering whether one is the body or the soul, distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals, seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as a part of the Supreme Lord, hearing about the activities and instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the saintly persons, chanting about these activities and instructions, always remembering these activities and instructions, trying to render service, performing worship, offering obeisances, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's whole self. O King Yudhisthira, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is what should be should be the education that we should have and our children should have. This is real education. And then Prabhupada writes in the purport, in order that human beings be distinct from animals, being, in other words, different than animals, the great Saint Narada recommends that every human being be educated in terms of the above-mentioned 30 qualifications. See, this is real education. Nowadays, there's propaganda everywhere, all over the world, for a secular state, a non-spiritual state. So India is a secular state. That's why it's having a lot of troubles, and a lot of misery there. America is a secular state also, although it says in every dollar bill, "In God we trust," but they're not acting like that. See? Nowadays, there's propaganda everywhere, all over the world, for a secular state, a state interested only in mundane activities. But if the citizens of the state are not educated in the above-mentioned good qualities, how can there be happiness? For example, if the total populace is untruthful, how can a state be happy? Therefore, without consideration of one's belonging to a sectarian religion, whether Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or any other sect, everyone should be taught to become truthful. Similarly, everyone should be taught to be merciful, and everyone should observe fasting on certain days of the month. Everyone should bathe twice a day, cleanse his teeth and body externally, and cleanse his mind internally by remembering the holy name of the Lord. The Lord is one, whether one is Hindu, Muslim, or Christian. Therefore, one should chant the holy name of the Lord regardless of differences in linguistic pronunciation. Also, everyone should be taught to be very careful not to discharge semen unnecessarily. This is very important for all human beings. If semen is not discharged unnecessarily, one becomes extremely strong in memory, determination, activity, and the vitality of one's bodily energy. So there, now we know why so many people get sick, so many people don't feel tired all the time, so many people can't remember things, so many people get Alzheimer's disease, so many people get this, so many people get that problem. They're losing their semen. So men have semen and women have vaginal discharges and things like that. So both should be preserved, especially the semen. If one preserves it, then it rises from the spinal column up to the brain and fertilizes the brain. And one is able to remember, develop this complete remembrance. It's like Shrutidar. Hears once and remembers the rest of his life. Right? This was the culture before, and people were trained like this, like Narada Muni and others. But nowadays, the opposite is waste your semen and engage in sense gratification. Listen to nonsense. Speak nonsense. Do nonsense. Right? So this is the sad state of the culture today. And Prabhupada says, everyone should be taught to be simple in thought and feeling and satisfied in body and mind. These are the general qualifications of a human being. There's no question of a secular state or an ecclesiastical state. Unless one is educated in the above-mentioned 30 qualities, there cannot be any peace. Ultimately, as recommended, Shravanam Kirtanam Chasya Smaranam Mahatam Gate Sevej Yavan Atir Dasyam Sakyam Atma Samarpanam. Everyone should become a devotee of the Lord, because by becoming a devotee of the Lord, one automatically acquires all these qualities. Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavat Kinchana Sarver Gunastatras Samasate Sura Ahav Abhaktasya Kuto Mahadguna Manoratanasati Dhavato Bayi. In one who has unflinching devotional service to Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifest. However, he who has no devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualities or qualifications, because he is engaged by mental concoction in material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, 18th chapter, 12th verse. Our Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, is all-embracing. Human civilization should take it very seriously and practice its principles for the peace of the world. Okay, so I want to just cover one more thing. Again, in Prabhupada's letters, Prabhupada says, in a letter, 16th March 1974, to a devotee named Satyahit, he says, "Now I am especially concerned to distribute grains, rice, wheat, in the form of dal and rice prasadam to hungry people all over India. The people here are very disturbed because, partly due to the punishment of nature, in other words, droughts and things like that, hurricanes, tsunamis, whatever, and partly due to the mismanagement of the demon class of men, meaning the politicians, food is not available. If the people do not even have sufficient food, they will not even be able to receive spiritual instructions. So, I am hopeful that if we can widely distribute free foodstuffs to the people of India by giving it out at our centers, as well as by traveling parties to villages, we will win over the whole country and the whole world by this activity on Krishna's behalf." Hari Bol. Now we see why Prabhupada was saying no one should go hungry in a 5-mile perimeter of Mayapur. Right? So he wants us to engage in massive prasadam distribution and massive sankirtan. Every Saturday, we should have at least 50 to 100 devotees coming out on sankirtan. Yesterday, we took out a big baggage of books. They were all distributed yesterday. We made up to $300 in donations. And we distributed, of course, all the goodness cookies. We distributed flowers, and we distributed also burritos. And of course, it was the university festival yesterday. So there were hundreds and thousands of people there. And we chanted for about 3 hours at least. And the devotees, our kids, the ladies, and some of the men, they distributed books like anything. So this is what Sankirtan should be, every week. Now imagine if we did it every day like I used to do in France. Every day we would go out, you know. And it would, but yesterday, devotees were amazed by what happened. I asked Radha Gopinath to come this morning and tell his story, but anyway, I'll tell it. He distributed books to 3 different Muslim women. And he also was distributing one American guy with an Indian girlfriend. He approached them, And when he offered the book, the Indian girlfriend said, "Don't take that book." And the American guy said, "What do you mean, don't take? I'm interested in this book." And he bought the book. You see the state of India today. The girl said, "Don't take that book," you know, and he just disregarded it. I'm taking the book. I'm interested in this book, right? So you see, and there were other things like this. I don't have all the stories in my mind right now. A lot of interesting things happened yesterday on Sankirtan. A lot of interesting things, and it was ecstatic because we started with only 5 people in Sankirtan. The 3 boys and myself and Radhika, and 6 people, and Chaitanya Prabhu. But then, little by little, because we had phoned a lot of people, you have to come out, last minute. Little by little, people came, and we ended up with about 30 devotees, I think 25 devotees. But as soon as the 25 devotees were there, everything took off. In the beginning, it was very, very slow because we were just, 4 people chanting and not very enthusiastically, right? But when everybody else came, then it became very enthusiastic, and it lasted a very long time. And hundreds of people saw us. And Radhika also went up to one black gentleman, and he was offering a book, and then he was teaching him how to chant Hare Krishna. And the guy was chanting faster than him and repeating the mantra faster than him. He was surprised. I said, how come you're doing this? He said, well, last week you guys were here. That's when I heard it and I learned it.
Samarth was mentioning that one, I think he was about... So he was mentioning that one adult, around maybe 30 years or so, he had an accident while skateboarding or something.
Yeah, it
and
damaged his
brain damage or something. But they made him also chant.
Yes, I think he took a book also.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, a lot of things happened yesterday. It was just a wonderful Sankirtan. We have to do this every week. The people are catching on now in the U district because we're going there every week. We're distributing the burritos. Now, I want to distribute also the Simply Wonderfuls. I want to distribute also the flowers. Every Sunday we should get all those flowers that come off the altar and the incense sticks that have been offered, but they put them out. We have to distribute a lot of things on Sankirtan. So we'll have burritos, we'll have Simply Wonderfuls, we'll have goodness cookies, we'll have flowers, we'll have incense, and we can think of other things too that we can give out free that are paraphernalia that have been offered to the deities. Yeah, so now you see what Prabhupada's plan was. There should be massive distribution of prasadam in India and all over the world, and he says, we will win over the whole country and the whole world by this activity on Krishna's behalf. Haribol. So we should end up with 10 food trucks going out every day all over the Seattle area. Imagine if we did that. But we need brahmacharis to do that. We need people to do that who have retired from businesses and are just full-time Krishna conscious. And we'll make the whole Seattle area Krishna conscious. Okay, there's some other point. Or I'll stop right there. Are there any questions? We'll continue tomorrow.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Haribol.
One clarification on the demigods contemplating the Krishna was the ultimate source of Brahma. This...
the opposite.
Yeah.
The Brahma was the source of Krishna. That verse says that the demigods thought that Krishna was a creation of Brahma.
Initially they thought, because I was wondering, they were contemplating this when this yajna was happening, but Krishna had performed several miraculous stuffs from the beginning, and they watched all the war and everything. So I was trying to understand what we are conveying here when the demigods thinking after everything is done.
Okay, your question is, how is it possible that the demigods could make such a mistake to think that Brahma is the source of Krishna? Is that your question?
Yeah, they have watched so many already. From the beginning, killing of Kamsa, all the activities.
We have people coming here. They're seeing the deities. They're sometimes hearing class. They see the kirtan, and still they think that this is only an idol. In fact, yesterday at that program, 2 people came to talk to me, and they both referred to deities as idols. And these are Sri Vaishnavas, right? And I told them, I told each one, I said, don't use the word idol. That's the British concept of the deity. You're making a mistake. They are called murtis, and they are none different than Krishna. But see, for them, for most Hindus, they're just idols. You understand? Now, how come the Hindus think they're idols? After everything is said and done, so many Vedic scriptures, so many acharyas, and they're still calling the deities idols. You tell me.
Because they didn't take enough time to contemplate all these years there.
No, because they don't have ears. Not all these years. They don't have ears. They have ears, but they're not using them correctly. Even in the Bible, Jesus says, those who have ears, they can listen. But wait a minute, everybody's got ears, but they don't use the ears to hear Atma Tattva, the science of the soul. They use the ears to hear Microsoft certification, JavaScript, C++, politics, sports, stock market. That's what they're hearing about. They're not using their ears to hear about Atma Tattva, the science of the soul and its relationship to Krishna. So they have ears, but they're not using them properly. They have nose, they have mouth, but they're not using any of these things properly. Because they're not being educated. They're being non-educated. They're being de-educated by this nonsense atheistic education in the schools. And you're going along with it. You're sending your kid to these schools. So it's your fault. See? We just heard what children should be learning, what all of us should be learning. These 30 qualifications. We just heard it. This is Shastra. Who's going to do it? You tell me. See? Okay. You had a question? Wait a minute. Dhananjaya, you had a question? That's all right. Go ahead. This is Sunday, so we have more time on Sunday.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. We do a lot of stuff service-wise for the public. Yesterday, we were at the food truck, and I didn't realize till later there was someone selling drugs in the parking lot. I mean, in the park side of the service.
Yeah, it's happening every day there. So, question?
If we're witnessing that and realizing that's going on, do we have any responsibility for the people eating prasadam or in our vicinity?
No.
Okay.
No, we just continue doing what we're doing. Yeah, I mean, that's going on all over the place. It's legal in Washington State. Even if you call the police and say, yeah, somebody's selling drugs over here and some people are smoking here, they won't do anything. They won't do anything. If the drug people get too outrageous, they'll tell them to go away. They won't arrest them. That's been going on for years now in Seattle. Go to downtown Seattle now. It looks like a ghost town because it's out of control. The only people you see, well, not the only, but mostly the people you see walking around are homeless people. The people, the real straight people are avoiding going to downtown Seattle because it's out of control. defund the police. Yeah, go ahead. You defund the police. You'll see what happens. Wait a minute. You're going downtown, Prabhu, every day, right?
Not every day, but
Yeah. So what are you seeing downtown?
I bet $100 that you cannot go through the road.
Oh, go ahead. 1 second. Give him the microphone.
So you cannot reach your office, even though it might be like just less than 10 meters, that you're going to smell marijuana before you reach your office. You're going to smell some kind of different flavors. In fact, I have smelled probably different flavors now
Of marijuana?
of marijuana.
Yeah.
And it is quite dangerous, Maharaj. A lot of my other colleagues also, when we had lunch, they are saying that let's not meet up in Seattle, let's meet up in Bellevue. So recently we did meet up in Bellevue.
Yeah.
So they are literally avoiding coming to Seattle in whichever form or reasons.
Well,
that
do you
they
see a
can get.
lot of people in the streets?
No,
see-
not
Not like it was before.
Oh,
right?
absolutely not. Probably I'm thinking 80% of the people are gone.
There you go. And they're still building more buildings there.
Yeah, the convention center is the most stupidest thing that I've seen. In a sense, they were thinking this is before the pandemic,
Yeah.
and yeah, there is a lot of police presence also, Maharaj, nowadays, at least a little bit, because there have been shootings and very violent crimes, especially on 3rd Avenue, and 3rd Avenue is supposed to be the most commercial district. So a lot of companies, in fact, my company has reduced their 7 floors in downtown Seattle to half a floor. So 6.5 floors have been vacated.
Wow. Yeah. There you go. All right. Any other questions? Yes?
Hare,
Gopal Krishna. Hare
Hare,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, my question is how to tolerate.
How to tolerate. Very good question. That's a serious question. How do you tolerate? So, matras sparsas tukonteya sitosna sukadukataha agamapayano nityas tamstatikshas vabharata. It's the 2nd chapter, verse number 14. O Sanakunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Skyana Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. By the way, the same thing is in the Armenian language. It says, Tsachot ode simran navan gukanu girtan vihade uche verchinin gukanu girtan. It's exactly the same thing as this verse. It's and it's poetic. It all rhymes. So, Prabhupada says in a purport, in the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magha, January and February, when it's very cold. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. That's right now in India. It's very hot there. Right? One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas, and although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge, because by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya, illusion. The 2 different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Kaunteya signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharata signifies the greatness, his greatness, from his father's side. From both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting. So how do you tolerate? You focus on what your duties are. What are your duties? You must wake up early every day. You must chant your rounds in the Brahma Muhurta. You must take a bath, and at least 2 baths a day. You must come to Mangala Aarti and also seek Tulsi Aarti. You must take prasadam. You must be honest and follow those 30 qualifications of a devotee. These are all musts. You can't avoid doing them. You have to fast on fast days and so forth. So if you do all these things as a duty, and the other thing is you must always be kind and gentle in your relationships, and you must control your anger. So these are all musts, right? You can't argue with it. It's your duty. Duty means it doesn't matter it's hot, cold, it doesn't matter if people like you, don't like you, it doesn't matter if people speak nicely to you or speak harshly to you. You must do these things. It's your duty. So if you act dutifully, then you can tolerate. But if you act on impulse, you won't tolerate anything. So you have to control your mind and your senses, you see. So these are musts. Those 30 qualifications are musts. If you follow those 30 qualifications, then you tolerate. Toleration is one of them, by the way. Yeah. Tolerate means it might be painful, it might be difficult, but still you do not protest. And therefore, in the 12th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, verse number 13 and 14, Krishna tells Arjuna, Advaita sarvabhutanam maitrakarna evacha nirmamo nirhankara sama dukkha sukha shami santusta satatam yogi yatatma drita nishchaya mayapita mano buddhir mam yomad bhakta same priya. He says, one who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, meaning Krishna, such a devotee of mine is very dear. And Prabhupada says, a pure devotee is never disturbed in any circumstances, nor is he envious of anyone, nor does a devotee become his enemy's enemy. He thinks, this person is acting as my enemy due to my own past misdeeds. So it is better to suffer than to protest. This is duty. It's better to suffer than to protest. This is duty. If you follow things out of a sense of duty, then you will tolerate even the worst situations. Haribol. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Maharaj, just a small clarification from 30 qualities. So one of the quality was everyone should be distributing food equally to all living entities,
Yes.
both men and animals. So how to understand that we are distributing to animals equally?
You come to the farm. You come to the farm. We're distributing to the cows and the goats, right? We don't force them to starve every day. We're spending money. Spending at least every week about over $300, almost $400 to feed our cows and goats. So we're not denying them. And then we're growing vegetables so that the bugs and the moths and the butterflies and the slugs, and they can all eat. Anytime you grow something, 5 to 10% you're going to lose to insects and bugs and birds and different things like that. Yes?
How will we give food to the animals that are not on land, like in the sea?
Well, people are passing stool and urine, and it's going out into the sea. And the animal, not the animals, but the mammals and the aquatics are eating it. Your stool and urine. It's all going out to the sea. Right. And of course, Krishna is supplying them algae and all other types of things. And they also eat other animals who have died, or they kill the other creatures in the sea. They're killing them and eating them. So Krishna is providing for everyone. Okay, so no more questions? Adibol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Who wants to sing? Anybody? Sing Sing? It's the name of a jail. Sing Sing. Okay, go ahead. Oh, you want to sing? He sings all the time.
Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sarva.
Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sadma Mandamoye Savadana Made
Mandamoye Savadana Made
Jahara Prasade Bhai E Bhava Toriya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoy Ja Hoy De Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte De Koriya Gya Arana Kori Ho Mane Asha Sri Guru Charane Radhi ऐसे उत्तम गति। जय प्रसाद पूरे सर्वाशा। जय प्रसाद पूरे सर्वाशा। चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से। ओ चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से। दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो। प्रेमा भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते। प्रेमा भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते। वेदेगा जहाँ चरितो। श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधमा जनर बंधु। श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधमा जनर बंधु। लोकनाथ लोके राजीवाना। हाँ प्रभु करो दोया देहो मोरे पादा छाया। हाँ प्रभु करो दोया देहो मोरे पादा छाया। ये बेजास गुसुक त्रिभुवाना। प्रभुपाद पतिता पवाना। जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद। गुरुदेव गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा। नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल। नाम ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo. Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo ki jai
Jayam Vishnupad, Paramahansa Pararaja, Chasta Tarasatara Shishi Shimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem Shri Ghosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Guru Gopinath Samkund Radha Kunda Giri Govardhani ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Mayapura Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premananda. All glories to the Sammal devotees, all glories to Sammal devotees, all glories to Sammal devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guru, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavani ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutani Srimati Bhaktivinoda Swami. Namaste Saraswati Devi. Namaste Saraswati. The lotus feet of our spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. Bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Not only will we have that consciousness, attachment to his lotus feet is perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my birth after birth. By him, ignorance is destroyed. Spiritual Master, the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and Master of devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavan Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Haribo. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pracharani. Nirvisesa Sunyavani. Plus Katya Desatani. Haribo, Haribo.